What's up, everybody? Welcome to another...
I'd like to say something that I've prepared tonight.
Okay.
Hello. How about that ride in? I guess that's why they call it Sin City. You guys might know this, but I consider myself a bit of a loner. I tend to think of myself as a one-man Wolfpack. But when my friend brought Colton in home, I knew he was one of my own. And my Wolfpack, it grew by one. So there were two of us in the Wolfpack. I was alone in the Wolfpack, and then Colton joined in later. And then about a year ago, Colton, he introduced me to you guys. And I thought, wait a second, could it be? And now I know for sure. I just added two more guys to my wolf pack. 4 of us wolves running around in the desert in Huntsville looking for strippers and cocaine.
Oh, no.
So tonight, I make a toast to our wolf pack.
What is happening? We're canceled.
All right, guys, let's get started. This is KAP Sports. Let's go. Colton, start us off.
So let's not put that part in. All right, here we go. All right, guys. Yeah, welcome to another episode of KAP Sports. We are going to get started with the chaos that happened in college football this past weekend. Alabama being irrelevant. We're going to talk about the college football playoff that dropped last night. We're going to get into a little NFL talk. And, yeah, so let's get it started.
All right, so, of course, we're going to talk Bama, Oklahoma. And
Unfortunately.
We're going to lead into the Iron Bowl. So, we talked about a decent amount last week or, right before the Oklahoma-Bama game. You definitely talked about how you were a little nervous, and I'm over here like, ho-hum, like, there ain't nothing to be nervous about. They suck.
Yeah.
So, what did jinx us, a-hole?
Yeah. That was I said I was confident but nervous, and we both said that by halftime we should be warming up Ty Simpson, getting him prepared to come in for the second half and shut it down, but that did not happen.
Didn't happen
at all.
Oh, by the way, we have KJ over here, and we have AJ. They're not brothers or lovers.
The second part may be
to be determined. We might find out by the end of the night. So just wanted to throw that out there to y'all. KJ, AJ,
special guest,
Preston, Colton. So welcome them to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, glad to have y'all on. Throwing an extra layer of chaos, and stupidity in here. So tonight should be a fun one.
This may not mean anything in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so going back to Bama. So we had went in talking about how Bama's offense is going to go how Milroe goes. And the play calling started out terrible. It started out terrible, and it continued on throughout the entire game. They were trying to force feed Milroe, getting his legs going.
The worst times.
Oklahoma shut it down from the very first drive. Defense started out hot. They got a turnover. We went down. Ryan Williams had a chance to score. He stepped out of bounds, but that was the only time we got down in their area to score points. And the fact that we can't figure out how to throw slants, we
could be tearing teams up with slants.
We can't stay with our run with the running backs. Like, it blows my mind because we were so confident going in because the defense has been fantastic. Going back to somewhat of the Tennessee game, defense has played great. Up until this past weekend, we scored 3 points. Our offense was irrelevant. Defense, you had Baker Mayfield 2.0 show up against Alabama and ran for 130 yards by himself.
I feel like I never saw him throw the ball, honestly.
He had 68 passing yards.
Didn't have to. No. So they ran all over us. They, like I told you Saturday night, they watched the Vandy tape, and I think that's the only tape they've been watching. That's probably why they have such a bad record, because they knew they were playing Bama eventually, and they just probably watched the Vandy tape week after week instead of their upcoming opponents, and were perfect. I mean, they even did the shovel pass. They did so many RPOs and just tore tore us up.
They watched the Vandy game and LSU game.
Well, what Oklahoma does well is their defense is the best part, obviously. You got
Right.
Jackson Arnold. They've had some struggles like starting out, coming in, and then like you had the Texas game blowout where he kind of got made irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now coming back, all Oklahoma's made for is the defensive side of the football, and we're kind of a one-dimensional team.
Extremely.
When you don't hand the ball off, you got Jalen Milroe who can rush just as well as anybody in the country. But when you don't hand the ball off, all they can do is they can sit back and zone.
Yeah.
Zero in on 4.
You can't get the slant game going because you have an extra person spying the quarterback.
Yep.
That
The
if he's
whole
throwing,
defense must probably on the spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On the offensive line, it seemed like a swinging gate
Oh, absolutely.
on every part of the offensive line. Like when we handed the ball off, we got progress. But then we would try to do some weird option, toss back, reverse, whatever bullcrap instead of just power football. Or then we would on third. I remember for sure it was like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. Oklahoma stacked the box with like
There were a lot
8,
of
9
those.
deep, and then Milroe runs a QB draw
The misuse of Alabama's running game in general is
all year long. It's been all year.
Yeah.
pure insanity.
It has
makes
been all
no
year,
sense.
and I feel like these two running backs, Double Ed Monster, is probably a better duo that we've had in
Yeah.
quite a few years. Like, and no disrespect, obviously, to some of our former running backs for the last 4 to 5 years because they've been fantastic. But these two guys really remind me a lot of a Josh Jacobs and probably a Damian Harris.
Yeldon,
Yeah,
just downhill runners.
downhill runners, but hard runners, really great catchers out of the backfield. But
That's about all
are
they do.
very just reliable guys.
Yeah.
And their misuse or underusage, I should say, really has been mind blowing. I don't get it. I wonder if it all just really comes down to having to work around Milroe's deficiencies or inefficiencies. Like I wonder if it's related to any of that, and that's why we are doing so many QB draws or what have you. I mean, obviously he can be successful with it, but I've told Colton this time and time again is that my biggest fear was, you've pointed on a minute ago, but my biggest fear is that our offense would become one-dimensional, and we were 100,000% exposed on that this weekend.
The entire game. We tried to stick with one thing from the first drive to the last drive, and Oklahoma was not having it.
No, this past weekend definitely hit the nail on the head for what I've kind of been complaining about. What would happen if
Well, they
we
slept.
didn't broaden our horizons on the offense as far as what we should do.
They sleepwalked right into that game.
Yeah, they
And
didn't.
too, like at a certain point, like where do you blame like coaching to the ability of like the players? Like it's almost a combination of the two because it's like you have a stacked team. They are a stacked team,
They are,
regardless of
yeah.
how
One of
they
the best rosters in
perform.
football.
And then you just have the constant camera pan to Nick Sheridan up there in the booth, and it's just like, what is going through his head to make these strange play calls?
That's kind of what I was alluding to, was that, I think that we're just having to tailor the offense towards Milroe's one good, area of what he's good at. But for me, I actually do think he's a phenomenal deep ball passer.
I
he can throw it.
agree 100%.
I think
He has
he's one of
shown it all year last
He
year.
can
He's
throw
one
it.
of the
He can throw a
best.
deep ball, or he
Agreed.
can run an open lane. But
Yeah.
there's really nothing.
Yeah,
When
the
he's-
mid game is awful,
When we're setting up the deep ball.
which requires a running back
Yes.
running ball, not Milroe, a running back, because
Yeah.
then defenses
They're going to respect
are
it.
going to respect it.
Milroe, when he scrambles, like when it's a true scramble, that's where Milroe can be the most dangerous. He is the best athlete
So
on the
a
field.
non-design run.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
well, that's fine too when you have an athlete like that. Like you go back and you look at Lamar Jackson.
Great.
It's about the only person that I can compare Milroe to in the relevant history is Lamar Jackson. So you go back and look at that, and like they can have the design runs, like those work, but like that's not all he did. When he
No.
was the most effective is when a play broke down, and now he's outside of the pocket. Go catch him. I'd
And
love to see it.
Everybody on defense is guarding somebody where he can just take off for 10, 15 yards.
Yep.
And even the few slants that we ran Saturday, they were dropped. Like every pass
Yeah.
Milroe throws is a bullet, but like
They were great. They were actually good.
Dupree missed 3 or 4 passes.
I know for 2 for certain.
Ryan Williams dropped a pass across the middle. And it's like those are momentum plays. Those are confidence plays for Milroe. And then he gets in his head. But another thing, too, is like, how much trust does Sheridan have, and even DeBoer have, in Milroe to like, okay, is he checking into the wrong plays? Like, is there a certain play called and then he checks out of it to try to force himself to be able to run the ball? Or is it just all one play, run it? If it's not there, then so be it.
I don't think he has that luxury or leeway from the coaches to make those checks.
I think he can do it.
How do you open up the middle of the linebacker part of the field? How do you open that up?
Don't know so.
You hand the football off.
Yeah.
When they have to come downhill, it opens up behind them for the slants to come across.
It's just a play action away.
Yeah, when you're faking the handoff and their first step is forward and the pass goes behind them.
They're beat, yeah.
Throw it to Ryan Williams and slant.
Some of the best receivers doing that. Like,
where was Kendrick Law? Was he hurt?
Is he on the team still? I don't know.
I was looking at the stat sheet. Like, he didn't get a target.
No.
So I don't think he stepped on the field at all Saturday. And he's one of our, like, bruising receivers, like glorified running back made receiver.
He was at the beginning of the year for sure. He's definitely taken a big step back. I'm not saying due to his skill set, but just
Like, he hasn't gotten a lot of opportunities.
I think it boils down to like all these trap games. You do so well the week prior to the current game that's ahead of you, and then it's just like, oh well, it's just Oklahoma. They kind of suck this year.
They're not having a great year.
So maybe we can just kind of squeak by and not have to do much. But in reality, like, and I'm not going to throw coaches under the bus because I don't think DeBoer is like a bad choice by any means. But like Saban's over here.
That's the
You
difference.
score 3 points. like the defense, like
Somebody would not be starting next week.
No.
Regardless of who it is, somebody would drop the ball.
like
Saban would cancel the rest of the season if what just
Yeah,
happened.
take offense out of it. Like the defense, they gave up over 200 rushing yards.
yeah.
It's hard to do though when you're constantly. I mean, these guys are getting worn out because they're on the field so often. When Milroe's throwing 3 picks and one of them's a pick six, you got to instantly go back out.
Back-to-back drives
too.
Yeah, back-to-back drives in the second half. The first pick was not on Milroe. That was Kobe Prentice. He ended up coming out and saying, that was on him. Terrible. Just
Quarterback
he
takes
whiffed.
responsibility.
But the other two, he's throwing to Oklahoma. I mean,
Well,
Yeah, right.
the second
The
pick.
pick six was
straight to him.
So you've got Robbie Oots, who's 6'4", 270 pounds, playing as your outside receiver. You throw a curl route opposite side of the field, so you're on the left hash. You throw a curl route to your 270-pound fullback. Why? Where's
Bro,
everybody else?
I'm so glad you brought that up because I didn't even know we had a fullback on the team, and then this past weekend we threw it to him, daggum, seven times.
He had a touchdown last weekend against Mercer. They threw to him again for another touchdown. I was like, oh.
I figured he was a Make-A-Wish kid or something.
No, but when you're trying to find a spark in that, like, first of all, if that's your only read, that's bad on Milroe. But he telegraphed it. He never panned the field once. Like, if there's Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard,
Kendrick,
Dupree, or Law, like anybody else on the field, I'm not looking at my 270-pound fullback first.
at the end of the day, the catches we have seen Ryan Williams make, that dude's always open.
And I think they might focus too much, like, on him.
That's something we've discussed as well.
And I understand it depends on who can.
I mean, do you know he's only 17?
Is he? Is he
Wow.
only 17?
Here we go.
We
did not set them up to say that, by the way.
Listen, we're going to be throwing a freaking birthday party for this kid when he turns 18, and I believe in February.
He broke
or March.
another record. I don't know if anybody saw that.
The
youngest player to lose to 2 unranked
teams.
opponents in one
There you
season.
go.
So
setting records left and right.
look, he's going to set all the records.
You have to look at the fact that there's, apart from him, there's 10 other players on that field at once.
Yeah.
Not including Milroe, but like look both ways.
Yeah.
And then it comes down to him running.
Oh.
We talked about earlier. East to west. That dude don't know north to south.
We talked about that, right? So, there were countless. It's happened throughout the season, but it was so evident this past weekend where he had clear first downs, within a step of a first down, and he said, "No, that's not for me. I don't feel like getting that. I want to, stay out here longer and bust out, to the sideline, backwards to the sideline." It's like, bro, like take that 1 yard and give us a longer drive, get us that
Speed.
first down instead of trying to bust out a touchdown run.
Speed can only take you so far.
Because they're all fast.
When defense is taking like perfect angles and like it's not just one guy chasing you down, it's 2 to 3. Like, and credit to Oklahoma. I mean, they had the perfect game plan. They stuck with it. They shoved it right in Alabama's face. And so we're gonna stay on Ryder Williams real quick. He's so young that he doesn't know where to line up on offense. Covering himself up like that.
Oh, God. Here we go with this play.
So
He's being sarcastic.
a little bit. So out of all the speculation and stuff that comes out with officials in all sports, talking about having money on games and the Chiefs curse and all the Chiefs are always, or all the refs are babying to the Chiefs and all that. To throw a flag when the ball is entering the end zone and then to double down and say, well, the receiver is covered up.
For a penalty that should have been at the line of scrimmage.
On the snap.
I have an answer to that. I do have an answer to that. Maybe you already know where we're going with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I could remember exactly what that penalty was called, but it can't be, the flag can actually be thrown until the receiver catches the ball, and that
For
is
illegal
why.
touching.
Yes. Okay, there it is. Illegal touching.
Well, when he said that, I was thinking Ryan Williams ran out of bounds.
Yeah.
Like he ran out, he ran out of bounds
he
and
pushed
came
off
back
or
in.
something like
And
that.
it's like he was lined up in the slot. But no, they showed the replay, and Herb Street and Fowler were like, well, let's go back. I don't think he was covered up. And people were saying he was covered by the tight end. It's like, no, he covered up the tight end. Whoever's covered up can run a route all day long. If he wants to. He just can't throw it to him.
I thought they were talking about, when they're talking about illegal touching, about being covered up, was in reference to the defensive back has to be within an X amount of yards of him for that to be considered as covered up. Like just, pre-snap. Like, so if they're like within X amount of yards, that he more or less can't catch it. So, but that defensive back was outside those allowable limits, so it shouldn't be considered. But it's talking about the offensive side.
I think it comes down to one of those like penalties that's like.
Are you talking about being covered up?
Yes.
Oh, no. He was saying that Ryan Williams, so you have a receiver that's on the ball and the receivers that's off. If the receiver that was closer to the boundary was on the line with Ryan Williams,
right.
then Ryan Williams was technically covered up.
Yeah, I understand.
But with Ryan Williams being the first one on the line, the other two were offset behind him. The only person that could not catch the ball that play was the tight end.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And the fact that Ryan Williams made a spectacular catch. That was 2 touchdowns that game that got called back. Was that touchdown going to make a difference in the game? Probably not. But the amount of momentum.
I mean, that was what,
confidence.
Just started the fourth.
Yeah, just started the fourth.
I mean, it could have gave momentum.
It was early on, yeah.
Yeah, just started the fourth. I mean, absolutely, like, because I don't believe they scored another touchdown.
I think there was 3 seconds off the clock in the fourth.
Yeah, it was extremely early. So, and I don't think it was what the final score. I think it was only like 28-3 or
24-3.
24-3. Yeah. So I mean,
at that point,
a big
24-10.
Yeah. So I mean that's not undoable. That's
And the
not,
way the catch was, Ryan was
But
if
you go back to the turnovers and the pick six,
Yeah.
I mean, that deletes
two drives in a row.
that would have it'd be 10-10 at that point if you look at it that way.
Yeah, so we'll transition quickly into the Iron Bowl. So Auburn obviously comes off a big 4 overtime win against A&M. Huge confidence boost for them because now, like you said it in the last episode, Auburn's now looking. They're 1 win away from being bowl eligible. Yeah. They got the Iron Bowl this weekend.
Yeah, this is going to be my least favorite Iron Bowl in quite a few years.
You talk about nervous.
Yeah.
Very nervous.
Yeah, I thank the football gods it is in Bryant-Denny and not down in that.
Absolutely.
It matters this much.
But I mean,
just a little bit.
That is one of the only advantages like we have in this football game.
Yeah, is that it's at home because, like I keep telling you, they do voodoo down there.
No, Saban said it on game day the other day. Auburn's haunted.
Yeah, it is.
All the
They're going to
bullcrap that's happened down there.
sacrifice some cows, probably burn a Nick Saban jersey or something before the game, and they'd come out with a win.
So I don't even know. We go into each game talking about what Bama needs to rely on the most, and we've constantly said it needs to be Milroe's legs. It don't need to be Milroe's legs. You need to hand it off to 26 and 22.
Yeah.
That will open up the rest of the offense for everybody else.
You know, don't even pass the ball or run it with Milroe until we get 100 yards rushing with both those guys.
I agree.
Go up a couple scores.
Yeah, just do something.
Then you can go back to whatever we have been doing.
Keep the trick plays in the cookie jar this week. Don't need any of it. Just
I don't know what's going on there.
please go to power football. Please get back to Bama football where you just hand it off. Where's Brian Dable when you need him? Run the damn ball.
No kidding.
Just run it. Just hand it off. You got two really good running backs. We would like to think they are really good.
They
running
are.
backs.
They haven't shown
They are
otherwise.
so underused, undervalued, and it's disgusting.
It's dirty work right there. So what's y'all's confidence level in Bama as a whole this weekend, and then just Milroe in general?
So 10, I would say like a 4.
Yeah. And okay, but for each one, like so, both you're just saying 4s for Bama in general and as a whole.
Yeah, I'd go across the board.
And then a 4.
Milroe's probably like, well, it doesn't matter at this point anymore. So
what was repose the question?
Okay, so like, what's your confidence level going into the game this weekend as far as like how Bama performs? More or less, like, do you feel confident they're going to win? But just in the team and the coaching, like, what's your confidence level in the team as a whole? And then also in general with like Milroe himself, like, how confident are you in the team and in Milroe? Like,
so
separately.
I can't really. It's hard to give you a number. It's a 5. Like I can't give you a number because
I'm not even saying a number.
It's
just like,
it's bipolar Bama. Like it depends on which side shows
I
up.
like that.
Like so, Alabama is favored by 11. What is it? 11 and a half.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the last time outside of the 36-6 game that this game has not come down to a very good football game close to the end of the game.
One possession
outside
game.
of maybe a late touchdown score to make a cover, something like that.
Yeah.
So we're talking about two teams that if Bama does not play their best football, Auburn is a really good football team outside of their turnovers.
Yeah.
You take their turnovers away, they beat Oklahoma. You take their turnovers away, like they take Missouri down. Like it's Auburn's a great football team to me outside of Hugh Freeze didn't go get a quarterback in the portal.
Right.
You take their turnovers away, and Auburn's a whole different ball game.
They have a great running game.
I agree, and he is fantastic. And Cam Coleman on the outside is a great person for Peyton Thorne to throw the football to. And Peyton Thorne's a dude. Like he has not produced
He's got better passing numbers than Milroe.
He does, but like he can run the football. And we all talk about Ryan Williams, and Ryan Williams is an absolute animal. He's a stud on the outside, but Cam Coleman is a good wide receiver.
He is. He really is.
And the one thing that Bama does not do the best is take care of the deep play.
Yeah.
Where you just watched last week, Cam Coleman just hit 2 of them last week, like against Texas A&M, to put them ahead by 21, and then it's just Coleman, Hunter.
They have a good sequence or a good strategy.
Yeah, how do we combat that, not only on the defensive side, but how do we put Auburn in struggle situations outside of hitting that one deep ball?
I don't know.
What makes me nervous about this game, too, is Auburn, if they win, they'll be bowl eligible. There's still no guarantee that they get a bowl, even with 6 wins. But they're coming into this game with nothing to lose.
Right.
And Bama has everything to lose.
Why would you not ball out and just like absolutely give 150%?
That's what I'm saying, because Bama, on top of worrying about beating your biggest rival, but there's so much that has to happen everywhere else in the country for Bama to even still have a chance of making the playoff. And I'm nervous for DeBoer. Like, what are they practicing this week?
Yeah.
Like, do you spend that much time watching film on the Oklahoma game, figuring out what went wrong? Because everything went wrong from the opening kickoff.
We got that button on that video.
We got that first turnover, the first drive on defense. Outside of that, it was just bad ball all the way around. So I'm nervous for them, the coaches, because they can't screw this week up. Because you looked awful this past weekend. You've got to right the ship against Auburn this weekend.
Do they actually make the adjustments that they don't ever
I'll
do?
tell you what I
That's what I'm
feel
saying.
the most confident in going into this week is Auburn is a turnover-prone football team.
Right.
Shown, it's
So is
there.
Bama.
That's what they do, right? Auburn is coming in off a huge win off Texas A&M, which Alabama usually gets Auburn's best game of the year. It doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
What they just played was their best game of the year. So either they come in and they top that, which is going to be tough coming off, but I know they're getting back to work, they're getting ready. But when you come in as turnover prone, but with that kind of confidence that you can't do no wrong after what you just did, it's easy to make mistakes.
It's a good opportunity
easy
for
to
Bama's
overlook
defense.
the small things.
Yeah.
And 2 turnovers in this game is a difference.
Did we know anything about Deontay Lawson?
He's out. He's done.
Oh, yeah.
He's done.
Was it Achilles or something?
I can't remember.
I thought I said upper leg. No,
Yeah.
it might have been lower leg.
And that's big
No,
for
he's
the
done.
run game of Auburn. Like, that's big stopping
Yeah,
that.
he's done so.
That sucks.
Yeah.
When he went down, I was like, yeah, this is weird. Oklahoma's field, too. They just sprinkled sand all
so I
over
meant to
it.
talk about that a moment ago when we got first started talking about it. So I feel like that was actually probably a big contributor in the game because I was telling Colton, like, man, there's a lot, there's a lot of sand,
Slipping.
a lot of sand on the field.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to know if, like, and of course this will never come out, but like if Oklahoma perhaps did that with intention, like sanded all around the field and then had different spike length and width and stuff like that to give their guys better traction, whereas our guys and our team, our equipment, and our
Good for them.
our cleats couldn't hold up, because schools do, like some schools do, like really smart schools and teams and like field managers, stuff like that will do that.
Yeah.
Like not many people know that, but I mean that's just another layer to the game.
Yeah.
And so if they did that, especially probably knowing how much Milroe would run, he wouldn't have that. I mean, because imagine just running barefoot through the sand on the beach. No difference in spikes, on a grass field with a lot of sand underneath. Like you're not getting traction unless you have the right type of, length and stuff like that of your spikes. So
The only thing I would say
think
about that
that's
is
the
where
case.
you were about to allude to is the Vanderbilt game.
Yeah.
You
They were
watched
slipping everywhere.
You watched Milroe do that all over the field in the Vanderbilt game.
Their
And
grass was cut higher.
And all that really tells me is instead of being light on your feet, he's trying to plant too hard. And it's like playing on wet sod.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do? If you're trying to turn a corner, you try to plant. Like there is no plant.
Nope.
It's a tiptoe into a cut.
Yeah.
So I think he just gets nervous. I think he does get rattled, especially like when you don't have games like LSU where he's just taking off and nobody can stop him.
Yeah.
But LSU has had problems with running quarterbacks all year.
Yeah.
Like as soon as Texas A&M quarterback started taking off, I thought
That was
they'd won the
it, yeah.
game in the first half.
Yeah.
And then he starts taking off and run for what, 160 or something like that on the
something like that.
ground.
Yeah.
And
It's a game. That's the game changer.
you watch Milroe do that, and like I put money on Bama that game, just because I didn't think that Milroe could be stopped. If that's what we're trying to do,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they need it. I think so. We're going to transition a little bit into the playoff. Bama needs to handily beat Auburn this weekend, just to show, because obviously somebody in the football committee seeing something good in Alabama, or they would have dropped further than 13. Somebody in that room is still giving Bama the benefit of the doubt, saying they're a good football team. They had a bad game.
And they're being paid off. It's all major Bama fans. I feel confident saying, we haven't spoke about this yet, but I feel pretty confident saying that we're probably all in major disbelief in the fact that we got 13th.
yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
it's a brand recognition. Everybody wants to say that. So last year when we overtook Florida State, the committee did the right thing and put the best 4 teams in. I
Absolutely.
agree, Florida State was undefeated, and everybody wants to make a mockery of the Jordan Travis, like just because a quarterback goes out. I heard this week when Indiana was going against Ohio State, people were just kind of like making just slight jokes about how Indiana should just sit there start quarterback
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But it's a brand power thing. It's hard to leave out, especially when, you're signing billions of dollar contracts. It's hard to leave out teams like that unless they take themselves out of it.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're saying is that, we feel Bama probably realistically.
This was a
has-
very ugly
Yeah.
loss against Oklahoma.
We're 2
Very
losses
ugly.
away. We're outside of Boise State getting beat because they're just is the G5 representative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're 1 big loss away, and I look at this USC Notre Dame game. You look at the South Carolina Clemson. I get Clemson's not in yet, but they still got to go play for the AC champion.
So I did see something where Arizona State is ranked 16th, but if they either win this weekend or win their conference championship, that they would be the 5th, and they would, even if they stayed at 16, that they would. Now this is from ESPN, that they would still somehow be the last remaining one to get a bye.
They'd be the Big 12 champion because right now they're sitting in the 12 seed. So it swapped places with BYU. Since they lost again, BYU's completely out of it. So Arizona took over their spot, or Arizona State, took over their spot. They have to play Arizona this weekend. You're thinking that's probably a win. So they'll represent. They'll be represented in the Big 12 championship, going up against probably.
So what you got written up there isn't quite the case yet.
So you're saying they played the 5 seed.
No, Arizona State isn't the 12th yet.
Ohio, the loser of Ohio State and Oregon is your 5 seed.
Yeah.
There's no other way, and like they may play the 5 seed, whoever bumps into that 12 spot, but like we only have 4 bids that are guarantees, which are the top 4.
The fifth seed is your highest ranked non-conference champion.
The Pac-12 champion can be left out. That could be a conference that doesn't get a team in.
Yeah.
Which blows my mind. The G5 champion, there's no way that you can ever make a G5 champion one of those top 4 teams. I don't care. Bowie State, great ball club.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do. There's a Power 4 for a reason.
Right.
And there's 4 spots for a reason. And Arizona State, Bowie State might be a decent game, but like.
So I've talked to them a lot. What I assume you're about to say is like it comes down to viewership. I feel like that's how so many decisions are made is based on viewership. Who's going to have the biggest draw? Who's going to make the NCAA and the college football playoff the most money? And that's what's coming down to this. A lot of these decisions. Like at the end of the day, they still have to, in a sense, respect the records. But like, that's why that people keep questioning like, how could you put a 9-3 SEC team or Bama in? At the end of the day, viewership, because there's going to be 20 million people watching.
I think a lot of that comes down to your bubble teams too, like the ones who are just on the outside.
Like how many people are going to watch Indiana play in the playoffs?
To be honest with you, I'm excited to see Indiana play just because.
I agree.
This not TCU from
the 12-team playoff was set up for teams like Indiana, like SMU, like Arizona State, Boise State. These teams that have teams that have had
very
zero.
March Madness like.
Yeah, it is, and it's fantastic for football fans. But at the same time, it's like, okay, you get these big teams, like you got Clemson still on the outside, you got Alabama still on the outside. South Carolina, who we've talked about all year long, has been an exciting team to watch. They've gotten hot here at the end, winning at the right time. They beat Clemson at the 12th spot, which would obviously help Alabama. You wouldn't think South Carolina would jump Bama.
I don't know.
Depending on Bama beating them head to head.
I don't feel like that has as much weight as we all think it does.
The problem is now
the head-to-head.
Your conference championships are
essentially
essentially meaningless.
We've said that the past couple
weeks.
weeks.
At all. It all comes down to who beat who and when did they beat them and how they were ranked when they beat them.
That is one of my biggest complaints is when a loss occurs versus the fact that a loss is a loss.
Right.
I hate that.
And we talked about it last week.
So like if a team loses a beginning season and then wins out, so they only have one loss, they may still be ranked number 1 or top 5.
Depending on when their preseason rank is.
Yeah.
We talked about that too.
So, but then a team could win the whole season and then lose the last game or even their conference championship and be
like Georgia was last year.
Yeah.
Right.
And I hate that. I hate that a loss isn't viewed as a loss. It's when the loss occurs. It's like, to me, it should be weighted evenly.
I agree to an extent, but like it depends on when it happens. It's more relevant at that time. So back in week 1, does anybody even know who Florida State got beat by?
Georgia Tech.
Okay, so like you go back and think about that, and that was it was a shocker at the beginning of the year. And there's people that can't tell you about that.
Yeah.
But like, who did Alabama just get beat by? Right. I promise everybody in the country could tell you that.
I mean, that's a great perspective.
And like, it may not be, as long as it's not like this Oregon Ohio State rematch that we're like on brewing towards. It may not be 1 and 2, but like you realize you see the faults late, which have like it does it. It causes problems for the committee and people to overlook that when they just witnessed this.
Yeah.
Like maybe the committee does sit and see. Okay, well Alabama. Okay, they beat Georgia.
That's the only thing that's keeping Bama afloat.
Well, we beat
number 2,
4 top 25 teams.
Yeah, that are still top 25.
But
then you lose to Vanderbilt.
I think Missouri. The only reason Missouri is in there is to prop Bama up. Honestly, I think it's the only reason because they have looked atrocious.
The first part of the year, they looked really good. No, I disagree. I think they looked like a really good competitive team, but the first 5 games, 6 games.
I watched them get beat by A&M and kick a field goal just to break like double digits with like 30 seconds left in the game, and they're getting beat like 42-10 or 42-7. Like I watched them kick a field goal just to break double
Wish we could
digits.
have tried something like that last week.
I mean,
Cross the 50, send out the kicker.
Let's get one touchdown. That's it. That's all
Yeah.
we need.
had one that got called back. It was covered up.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yep. So this weekend still got a lot of implications for what's going to come out next week. I mean, you got to think the committee's honing in on what we're probably going to start seeing these last couple weeks of the bracket. SMU, Miami, they're set up to play in an ACC title game, depending on what Clemson does this weekend against South Carolina.
I don't know if they are.
What do you mean?
I don't know if they are. Syracuse is very threatening to Miami's chances for Clemson not to be playing.
I've
the ACC
relied on
championship.
Syracuse a
That's
lot
fine.
the past few years to beat Clemson to help Bama out.
I think they're playing at Syracuse.
So
too, I
I'm
think, right?
leaning
Yeah.
on Syracuse again to take down Miami
Yeah,
for
come on,
us.
Big Orange.
Guess who the only quarterback in the country is to have more passing yards? Cam Ward. Kyle McCord. Syracuse at quarterback.
And-
Quarterback Syracuse.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Left Ohio State to go to the.
Yeah, I have I'm not going to call it. Miami could walk in there and absolutely roll.
Because Cam Ward's a free.
He could. But
Miami hasn't looked great this year.
I
They've won their
have-
games, but
I have that upset alert very high. Like I have money sprinkled
I'm about to
on
say,
the
here we
money
go.
line.
That's what we want to
Not
talk
a
about.
lot, just
Yeah.
because. But I have money sprinkled on the money line right there because I'm telling you, man, I think Syracuse, if they put together a game, Miami does not come ready to play. They overlook and towards SMU. That's a team that could ruin a season for Miami.
Because Miami's been
I
comfortably
pray
sitting.
that is.
Miami's been comfortably sitting in that top 4 spot ever since the polls come out, and it's like between them, Penn State hanging around as close as they are. Penn State's looked. I had on here that Penn State has had 0 impressive wins, but it's like they're beating the teams they should.
They're winning.
They do it-
Unlike Alabama.
They do it every year, except
Yeah.
this year they didn't play Michigan.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they do it every year until you play at Michigan and Ohio State, which Penn State's always a 10
They didn't even get the
team.
luxury of playing Oregon this year either.
Yeah, like it's
So we're all pulling for Michigan this weekend, right? Like they play
No.
Ohio State. this
No.
weekend?
I hate Michigan. I'm not a big fan of Ohio State, but I would much rather see Ohio State, Oregon in the Big Ten than I would Indiana, Oregon. And I would like to see Michigan never win a football
No, okay,
game.
let's talk this out.
Yeah.
Michigan beats Ohio State.
Here we go.
Indiana and an Oregon play. Indiana beats Oregon.
Then you make Oregon a 5 seed, and you have
Imagine Indiana coming out of this as the national champion.
I'm telling you, I'm excited.
That's the way it worked out for NCAA
I'm
25
excited to
this year.
see them in. I'm so excited because I want them.
As long as they play good sound football.
Well, they're a prove it to me football team. Like, you hadn't played anybody all year. You go up against Ohio State, your first real match. Now you've seen that. Now you have a chance to go to the playoff and play somebody real. Now,
Yeah, I mean, they're in a good spot.
I don't want them to go play Arizona State as good as I think Arizona State is, and I've rode them all year and go Arizona State. But I want to see them play at Penn State. Like I want to see them play at SMU, which is SMU's kind of the same caliber team
they're the same.
in that sense. I want to see them prove it to me and go win a game when everybody's saying that like it's just all a cupcake. They shouldn't be here. I want them to go. I want them to prove it to me.
Yeah.
And if you can't, you shouldn't be here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, too, another game we need to highlight. Georgia Tech's proven that they can beat a top team. They beat Miami a couple weeks ago. They're playing in Athens, but I mean, this is always again a heated rival. Georgia has always seemed to just bully little brother in Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech's not the same team.
Well, they got them last year
I was
without
gonna say-
Haynes King.
Yeah. Georgia
Last year they
Tech
didn't have them.
beat. Yeah, Georgia
They
Tech
did.
beat Georgia last year.
Okay, so
No,
Well, no. Did Georgia Tech not beat Georgia in the last couple of years?
I don't think so.
I
Okay.
don't think so either.
Because they went back-to-back natties, and then we're going for a three-peat.
Yeah.
No, but I
Maybe
do
I'm still not
have.
beating
So
them.
the spread on this game is 19.5, and I took Georgia Tech with the points. And that's only because they didn't play them at Haynes King last year. It's a different team. Georgia Tech is a good football team.
They can't let them get out of hand ugly.
But I do-
that was,
I don't know if Georgia is able to pull away by 20, but I don't know if just Haynes King has the power to move the offense down the field and beat Georgia. Now, I don't think it's a 21. I don't think it's a 3 touchdown like stomping.
No.
I'm taking that money, but
This is the worst Georgia team we've seen in a
it's
decade.
relevant. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
20.
They've won the games they're supposed to, but they've been the ugliest wins we've
I agree.
ever seen.
Until you roll into Texas.
Yeah.
And then
right.
I mean that Texas game would have got a lot worse if it hadn't have been for some of them calls that got called back. And then the pass interference with the fans threw the stuff on it, and then it got overturned.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was a crazy sequence of events.
And then it's happened like 4 more times since then, just because that precedent was set.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Good job by the college fans picking up on that.
you see where Vanderbilt
That's
before
a
they played
trend
Texas,
now, yeah.
Vanderbilt put netting up
Oh, really?
just for that before they played Texas because Texas got Vanderbilt after they played Georgia, just like Bama did.
Yeah. They don't know those college students or those med students weren't going to throw anything on the field.
They were just worried that Texas would travel.
Yeah.
Well, that's another team, Vandy. We got to look out for them.
Yeah,
Playing
pulling
Tennessee
hard.
this weekend.
Me too. I've got that game. I got Vanderbilt plus the points.
Unfortunate for Bama, like Vandy, they've been good this year compared to what they have been in the past ever.
Yeah, they fell back off a little bit.
But Vandy's not. I guess they're still a threat because it's Vandy. Like they always play with nothing to lose. They're there to break your hearts. But like,
We need the best.
I
version
think what you
of
said earlier,
Pavlova.
Vanderbilt shows up for the games, and it's at Vanderbilt.
it's against your
This
in-state
could
rival.
not only knock Tennessee out, which I don't know if
That'd
that
be
would.
hilarious.
I don't know if that would fall them like farther than Bama, but they showed that they put Bama ahead of them in the rankings prior to losing to Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and that may have been just because of the SEC title running, whatever. But like, I think this could be a team that gets knocked out. I can see Vanderbilt coming through and winning it late. I mean,
Imagine Vandy beating Bama and Tennessee in the same year like that. You thought pushing that
That's their
goalpost
Super
through
Bowl right
Broadway.
there.
No
man.
kidding.
Yeah. That yeah, I mean, so everything's still open for Alabama to sneak in late. The country will be set ablaze if Bama somehow still sneaks in.
That's all Putin needs
To
to,
the
see to
playoff.
press that nuke button. He's like, I've seen enough.
that's what the committee's waiting to press.
Yeah, and I think they put them at 13 for a reason. They're still thinking that some crazy things can still happen. Bama could look like LSU Bama this weekend
Every top
against
team
Auburn.
could lose their rivalry, and
Bama could just say thank you very much. We'll take your spot. So everything's still wide open.
Do we want them to though? Like let's say everything.
No,
that,
so I had this
everything
on
that,
here too.
that plays out that would be in the benefit of Bama making it. Let's be honest with ourselves. Do we really feel that they deserve it? Do
They
we want them
could easily look like TCU did a couple years ago in the national championship when they got beat by 80
Yeah.
against Georgia.
Do I want to see Ohio State, Alabama? Do I want to see Oregon, Alabama? Because if they sneak in, they would sneak in to 12, possibly 11.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
They'd be on the road all playoffs.
Do you want to see that?
Yes, I do.
Which version of Alabama is
No idea.
I don't
Okay,
know.
then.
Bama's not very good on the road
You want
this
to
year.
talk about ruining a
Really is a
playoff
coin
picture?
toss.
You want to talk about cashing a ticket for Bama plus like 10,000 on the national championship picture? Let them go through and take one of the two big dogs out. That is the only competition in the SEC.
Don't get me wrong. I would love to see it, but I'd also be extremely disappointed.
I'd be nervous.
I don't know. Apparently, Bama can't handle crowd noise this year, and Bama has not been too good on the road.
All it takes
Other
is
than
that
LSU,
one time.
obviously. Yeah, I mean,
one
it's
time you wake up like you did against Georgia in that first half, and
And
there's
they've
no
been
te-
asleep ever
there's
since.
no team in the country beating
In a coma.
that first half Alabama.
You know what stinks is we hadn't seen, and you guys may have. I might be speaking for myself here, but I haven't seen like any pregame speeches leaked by DeBoer. Like, so what are those locker rooms like before they take the field? We've
It's
seen Nick
classical
Saban,
music or something.
We've seen Nick Saban's pregame
Wait,
speeches
presser.
throughout. Josh
Hey, guys,
Jacobs dropped that pregame speech
kickoff's
before
in 10 minutes. Just
Oklahoma. Yeah, so
He's like searching dollars in a website for his next game day purchase, like game day gear.
You're talking about
purchase.
DeBoer?
Yeah.
Dude,
it's
that's
like who's getting the final word out? Like who's getting the last chew out speech before they take the field, or is it like you said, or is it
The board probably FaceTimes
Beethoven?
into Nick Saban. So like, Coach, can you give him a prep here and like hype him up?
I got Georgia, Texas SEC championship.
Yeah.
See what that goes. That's what it's playing out to be.
I think that's already set up like that.
No, this is the game I wanted to get to. The Texas A&M game.
Yeah,
Both of them are still in the run. Whoever wins this football game goes to Atlanta to play Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia's set. If Texas A&M loses, they're out. I don't think they're ahead in
'Cause
the
they would be
rankings to
three.
drop them.
I forgot to update the SEC standings.
Yeah, I don't think they're ahead in the rankings to fall, like to be in the top 12 to help Alabama or anything like that. But this is a game of pure hatred between two schools, two fan bases, and we haven't seen this since, 2010?
And yeah,
They highlighted it the other day.
Texas won 38-0.
Yeah.
And this is held at Kyle Field, home of the 12th man.
I thought it played in Dallas.
This is I think
yeah,
in Jerry World.
Yeah, that's probably a neutral site game.
The Cotton Bowl.
I think this is a home game. I think it's played at Kyle
You can
Field.
Google it. You can get on your phone and look.
I don't have my phone on me. It's over there.
Nobody brought their phone.
But all I know is I'm gonna be doing some of this over there. Like, let's go.
And A&M,
yeah.
A&M's playing pissed because they just got embarrassed by Auburn.
Dude, and you think Alabama, Auburn, Ohio State, Michigan is bad? This is pure hatred. There is no respect on the field. There may be punches thrown. There may be.
No, it's at Texas A&M.
It's at Kyle Field, and this is
Huge.
dude.
Huge.
This is a rivalry I've been waiting to come back and waiting to come back. It's all I heard about was how much they hated each other. When you get comparisons between all the rivalry games, that's what people used to say is they miss the old Texas A&M game
Yeah.
because it's just like Alabama Auburn. It doesn't matter who was better, who wasn't. But like the hatred in that building at all times between the fans,
Especially with
families,
it's been building for so long.
dude, and it has such big implications that now the winner goes.
Goes
Yeah.
to Atlanta, yeah.
Like, yeah, really and truly, I mean, this actually might be one of the biggest factors because Texas is going to be in the 12 no matter what.
Agreed, unless A&M wins it all, and I don't think Texas goes over Georgia.
So let's just talk this out. Texas A&M beats Texas. So that sends them to the SEC championship against Georgia, and then turns around and beats Georgia in the SEC championship. That could realistically, that actually could potentially knock out Georgia and Texas.
You can't make the loser of these conference
You
championship
can't, but that would be.
games.
Would that not be Georgia's third loss?
It would, but you cannot knock them for making it.
I don't
Yeah.
disagree.
Because if you do that, then why make it? I think Lane Kiffin made a joke earlier in the year.
He said it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and obviously he wants to be there.
Yeah.
But if you got 2 losses, why go? Because if you're going to get knocked out for playing this, and it's the SEC, we're not talking
Yeah.
about Colorado and BYU. We're not talking about them.
That's the best conference in football.
Yeah, and it's like saying that if Oregon got beat, whoever lost the Ohio State-Oregon game.
Yeah, no, what you're saying right now has been my argument for the past 4, 5, 6 years when it was just the 4-team playoff.
Yeah.
Especially when Bama and Georgia were playing each other in the SEC championship, and one only had one loss, or neither team had a loss at that point. At the time when I believe both were undefeated, or maybe Bama had one loss and Georgia didn't have any, and we went on to win the SEC championship.
Last year?
No, this was a couple years ago.
Okay.
I'm sure I did.
That's how it was
year.
last year.
Yeah, but I'm sure I did last year as well. It's I don't feel that it's fair to knock a team for making it to the SEC championship and losing, and then kicking them out of the top 4. Obviously, we have the luxury of 12 teams this year, so I
Yeah.
100% agree. But that's when we're talking about with one loss. Now we'll be talking about 3, so it's a little different.
Well,
But I still agree with your overall statement about punishing a team for making it to the the conference's ultimate goal.
Yeah,
of
and to
making
me,
it the
with the
championship.
4 teams, and back on the BCS when it was just 2, it's hard to say that same thing. I agree that Bama and Georgia meeting the SEC are probably 2 of the best teams in the country.
Yes.
But so last year you would have left out Washington, or you'd have left out Texas, who destroyed Bama at home last year.
Yep.
And then you got Michigan, Georgia. You don't have 4 spots.
Yeah.
So you're taking away from some of these other conference championship games.
That are deserving.
Yeah, but you don't really have, Ohio State got beat with Michigan. So Ohio State wasn't in their Big Ten championship game. I don't remember who Michigan played, but let's be honest, it wasn't the caliber of team
Was
that
it,
you would.
was it Iowa State? Was that
Maybe.
Iowa.
May have been
Yeah,
Iowa. I think
Iowa.
they beat them by 30.
Yeah, I believe it was Iowa.
But I touched on this last week. There's teams out there who need that conference championship win. Let's say A&M, if they get that opportunity. If it was Ole Miss and Bama, they needed that extra win. Tennessee, if they get in it, they need that extra win. But 2, on the flip side of that, there's teams like Texas, Georgia, who really don't need that win, so they can afford to lose. So in that case, it would almost be beneficial to just get rid of it altogether, and that way you play your teams in your conference throughout. That way you don't have one last game to end all be all.
I heard somebody make a take on this before the season started, and it was pretty interesting. So if we get to the point where it just starts making the loser of the championship game, it starts making it irrelevant. Teams don't want to be there.
Yeah.
If you have an outright winner in the standings, why don't you play for second and third?
That's a great point.
Then you don't knock out number one. Obviously, you don't put a loss on that. But like, why don't you play for second and third?
Yeah, there's so much mind games to go into this. It's
12 teams.
What's tough is though SEC could put 12 teams in their own playoff and have
let's
an incredible playoff.
Let's just do that.
Do we think that Notre Dame is safe this week?
With USC, right?
USC had every chance to do everybody a favor and beat Penn
Can I tell you
State.
a stat that can believe mine?
Sure.
There's 6 teams in this country that have led at some point in the fourth quarter every one of their games. USC's one of them. They're a 6-5 team. At some point in every game they've played, they have led in the fourth quarter.
Praying for 7.
And so, I mean, you give 3 of those back, and what is that?
All right.
A 9-2 team right now sitting on the bubble. Like,
Yeah, they'd be in there too.
Can, without Miller Moss, now it's their quarterback's 3rd football game. Without him, can they pull this upset at home?
Well, these teams nowadays, they're some of these lower end teams playing with nothing to lose, trying to upset, the team that's sitting there kind of halfway through in the playoffs. Like, you got nothing to lose. Just put out your best effort, put together your best game, and
Ruin a season.
go help everybody else out. Yeah,
So many different situations.
I'm here for it.
This is what makes college football the best sport in all sports. I know Europe and everyone else has their soccer or football, as they call it.
Yeah,
No, this is real football. This is American football. College football at its best. I mean, NFL's fun, but there's nothing like spending a Saturday with the boys, watching some football, taking it all in, and just the chaos that ensues literally every single weekend. I mean, every game matters. So
Yeah, unfortunate. And being in the SEC, you got to play 8, 9 of those teams within your conference, the toughest conference in football, and you have to bring it every single week.
yeah.
And that's just not the case for Bama, at least this year. So a lot of big games this weekend still. Bama's on the outside looking in right now, but crazy things have happened. Florida upset Ole Miss this past weekend. Oklahoma beat the brakes off of Bama. So, yeah, everything's still wide open for the Tide. So let's go everybody else. South Carolina for sure. All right, so we're going to We're going to transition.
That's your third time using that term. I just want to throw it out there.
Welcome to the portal.
Yeah.
Let's.
We're going to transition
college
to
football.
my team, a team who is arguably, outside of Oklahoma, the best team in the state of Alabama, the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Secured their spot in the Conference USA Championship.
I can't believe they turned their season around, dude.
Started out 0-3.
They
I
looked-
remember us texting each other during the JSU Coastal game because I was like, put everything you got on JSU. You texted me in the first quarter. It's like, why did you tell me to do that? But
Tough look for the kid.
they got their season turned around. Lost the first 3, went 8-0 ever since, hosting their conference championship game.
Who was their big game this year?
Louisville. So that's what I'm saying. To be fair, they played Coastal Carolina, who was the quarterback when NC State?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of
But
those.
so the kid went from Coastal, went to NC State. So Coastal come in with a new quarterback. Really, it was Jacksonville State's game to lose, and Coastal come out on fire. Best game they played all year.
Well,
by far.
JSU, they scrambled through 3 quarterbacks that game, trying to figure out who their guy was. Turned around, played Louisville, still didn't have a true guy. Found their guy, and Tyler Huff played at Eastern Michigan, ended up losing overtime with that game. But ever since that Southern Miss game, he righted the ship, and it's been Tyler Huff ever since. Incredible to see. I'm happy for them. You know, this is only their second year in FBS.
Okay.
And Rich Rod's got them on the right path, and I'm super excited to see what they do going forward. They got Western Kentucky this weekend. JSU's undefeated in the conference, which is, I think this team is second place, has 2 losses. So regardless, JSU is hosting. It's either going to be against Western Kentucky or I believe,
Yes.
I forgot. There's another team. But JSU will be hosting it. I cannot wait. They're going to be looking at another bowl game this year.
They've been good for ages, really. I mean, when it
JSU?
comes down to it.
Yeah.
I mean, really,
The
historically,
FCS years,
over the
like,
last 12 years,
Yeah,
I agree.
Their own little dynasty type situation. I mean, I know they
Yeah,
weren't-
my
They're no
freshman
North
year-
Dakota State, but they're pretty
Yeah,
good.
Oh, Eli
Well, no.
Jenkins running around there for 37 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love old Eli. But yeah, ever since 2010, my first year, we made it to the playoffs that year. Got destroyed by a bunch of white dudes from Wofford running the triple option. But
Classic football.
but ever since then, JSU has been trending in the right direction. They got the perfect Rich Rodriguez looking for a career resurgence. Hopefully he stays for a while. Or he'll just end up being the next coach at Alabama. So here we go. We won't
This
get
rate, I mean, who
we won't
knows?
get into it. Yeah.
Could be the best thing ever.
Yep. So
Was he not supposed to be our coach before Saban?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I
He
thought.
said, "I'm not going down there to the hillbillies or something," and Saban's like, "I'll do it."
Yeah.
So we're going to go adjacent to the
Yeah.
other side of the state.
Great
Right.
decision.
Yep.
Thank
All
you
right,
for
so
that,
that's
brother.
college football. Big weekend coming ahead. But right now we're going to talk a little bit about Alabama basketball. A huge win last night against Houston in Las Vegas. Overtime win.
Fantastic. Mark Sears is back.
Mark Sears, it took him a couple free throws to
Yeah.
get his shot back, but he got it going. Bama's just got incredible guard play.
Fallon, I don't believe he finished with any points, though. But, yeah.
Well, like we're going back when we played Illinois last week. It's like Mark Sears, one of the best players in the country, had 0 points, and we win. I'd say handily. We didn't win handily, but we got to win
the
there
win.
because there's 3 or 4 other guards that can take over a game. Grant Nelson can take over a game,
Yeah.
and then to double down, LeBaron Fallon didn't perform last night, but Mark Sears
The
came
rest
through.
of the team showed up.
Latrell Wrightsell came through. Grant Nelson continues to do his thing.
We were down a little bit, too, so, I mean, they made a pretty valiant effort coming back.
Bama and Houston's been a great game.
Past 2-3 years.
Yeah, they've been playing each other, and it's just because they're mirror images of each other. They play physical defense. I think they said after the game there was 53 fouls in the game. That wasn't including the fouls that was in overtime.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, and Bama got the 3-ball going. They had to play a little bit of bully ball, but that was a huge win for the confidence of Alabama. And they still got they got Gonzaga coming up. I want to say they play them. They got Creighton again in a couple weeks. And then you got the SEC.
Yeah, Alabama basketball has really taken the same roadmap that, honestly, Nick Saban did with Alabama football in his early years. Prior to Saban, big regular season games for non-conference games really weren't that big of a thing. But I remember in his first, 4, 5, 6 years, usually we'd start off the season with a big game with the Chick-fil-A kickoff game in Georgia against a really big name team to kind of probably see where we're at. And now the past couple of years, we've seen the same thing with Alabama basketball. They really weren't playing any big name, credible teams.
Yeah.
Somebody sacrificed Alabama football for Alabama
Absolutely.
basketball, apparently.
And some baseball. Baseball's on the up and up too. Yeah, Bama basketball went from
Somebody
playing
needs to take that back.
But
Alabama A&M, Jacksonville State,
what I'm just saying
UNA, all
is,
these
it's like
teams in
that's
state.
a smart thing to do to start adding these games to your
Get
schedule,
calloused up.
Yeah.
especially early in mid-season. To not only that, but to determine where your team is at.
Yeah.
And to build that team trust and just like better prepare yourself, I guess you can say. But just like really give a good evaluation of how good you are.
And they're profitable.
Yeah.
I mean, they're marketing it very well.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. Like I watched Bama basketball here and there prior to NATO's coming, but ever since he came on board, like
It's just fun ball to watch.
it's fun. It's fun. And I mean, I'm very glad to not just be solely Alabama football.
Relying on football. Yeah.
Here lately, it might be something.
Yeah, I'd say,
good to have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if Bama happens to squander away the rest of their season this weekend and miss out on the playoff, we still got Bama basketball to carry us through until baseball season.
Until Bama softball
and then Bama
But
softball.
yeah, that's really
so.
it's Bama softball.
That's always my
Nobody-
Yeah.
fallback.
All right, so we're going to get into a little bit of NFL talk real quick. The Titans are back. I said it last
Yeah,
week.
okay.
All they got to do is just win the rest of their division games, and they will get into the playoffs.
The remaining
What are they?
they have
3-9.
Yes. So there are 6 games remaining, and every single one of those games are
They've got
not only winnable. I mean, they're very winnable as long as this Titans team that played this past weekend shows up.
yeah, they've got the Commanders this weekend.
I mean, they could lead the division. I mean,
They still got to play the Jaguars twice, the Colts
Wins.
again, and
Wins.
the Texans again
One more time.
at home. So I mean,
But
Texas-
can they beat the Texans again?
I mean, that's a pretty
Doable.
favorable run. I mean, I don't like to have
the
it back against
division
wall with that many
isn't that
games.
the
not
division
out of reach.
isn't that great, and the Texans obviously
Outside
been the
the
power.
Texans.
The
You're not a
Texans have
fan of
been.
the NFC South, bro.
We'll get to you in a second. Firing your coach after 6 games, but we
3
will.
years, but it's fine.
You know, the Texans are still obviously the front runner of winning that division, but they
Titans could be
haven't
right
played
there.
great. I mean, the Titans are right there. They still got to play the Colts again. A terrible Jaguars team. They got to play them twice, and then you end the season with the Texans again. So that last game of the season could come down to a win and get in.
You could see.
And with this guy at the helm, baby, there's no telling what could happen. I'm here for it.
Mr.
Tighten up, baby.
The biggest
But
hater.
you could see with the Saints and the Falcons
Yeah.
and the Buccaneers, they all just kind of beat each other, or they lose every other
Excuse
game
me?
that's not involved with those 3 teams.
Yeah.
And then it's a 3-way
Trying to
tie
get it.
somewhere in there. And then there's the Panthers. But
Hey, they tried
Who have
to.
looked
they almost beat
good.
the Chiefs.
They sure did.
Everybody's almost beat the Chiefs this year.
Yeah.
Nobody
Okay.
has.
They could have
Let's give
easily.
Bryce Young some post benching credit.
Hey,
He's looked good. Maybe that was the best thing for him.
Yeah.
I'm
not
I've
saying
gone through
he's-
the Andy Dalton experience, man.
Yeah.
Like everybody thinks he's like some type of dude, and he's a dude.
He was a dude
ain't
for
that
one
dude.
game.
And then
Not
he's still a
that-
redhead.
He's the best redheaded quarterback in the league.
No, but yeah, no. NFL is probably just as crazy as college football right now. Because I mean, again, there's so many teams right on the cusp, like right there knocking at the door. You know, whether they're going to be the wild card or actually just
A losing record team could win the
10-7
division.
Saints
And
are about to win the world or the Super Bowl. So I don't know.
No, the Dodgers are just going to win the World Series.
Well, maybe unless all their players get hurt. But we'll talk about baseball
Yeah.
when baseball gets closer.
Yeah, I'm not even going to jump into that sinking ship.
Yep. Nick Westbrook-Akine is still the best receiver in the league.
Yeah.
Caught another touchdown pass this weekend, so he's caught more
Biggest
touchdowns. Yeah, I am. I'm on the Nick Westbrook-Akine train.
Every day.
I've said it for the past ever since
7
we started
weeks.
this podcast. Like I've
7
said
weeks.
it. He catches the ball, it's a touchdown. I would throw to 15 every chance I could.
A 98-yarder.
Where did he play college?
Over there.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
your best players in the NFL are the ones really you
Don't even know.
never once.
He may
heard
not have
of.
played college, but I really don't know.
I looked it up the other day. I mean, he was drafted by the Titans as his 4th year.
He's got a
there.
work visa somewhere. From
I,
overseas.
Bingo.
I looked it up the other day during the game, and I can't remember where he went to college.
Yeah, if we had Peyton here, he could help us out with that. But
He's
Thanks, Peyton.
cool,
yeah.
possibly.
So we'll talk about Tua. Ever since he's come back from his near death,
I saw on Twitter somewhere that they said his last concussion reset him back.
Dude, I saw that too. That's hilarious.
Day.
perfect.
Yeah, they called him Tuscaloosa Tua.
It's hard to argue that.
So-
He's lit it up, and the
so-
Dolphins are another team right there on the cusp
He's got
of
anti
sneaking into the playoffs.
What's the? Oh man,
You got the floor.
I'm fumbling.
Pressure.
We'll come back to you on that next week.
Antonio Brown.
Oh,
CTE?
CTE.
There we go. He's got reverse CT.
Who's got CTE?
It might be.
Yeah, Tua's looked fantastic. They have. God, I forgot who they played this weekend.
So
So did I.
you bumps.
Here we go. All right.
So, but okay. Well, how about the stats that I sent you? Ever since he's come back, those what? How many games? 6
I
games.
think this 5th or 6th.
Fifth
Yeah.
or 6 games. He's had what? 1,100, 1,200 passing yards, 11 passing touchdowns, like 3 interceptions.
It may have
It was the Patriots.
Oh, he sure was. Yeah, they beat the piss out of the Patriots. That's why I couldn't remember. But
Good for them. Confidence.
Tua
booster.
has looked fantastic. He's already got more passing. After missing however many games, he's got more passing touchdowns than Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Well, I think Patrick Mahomes still got more interceptions than he does
No,
touchdowns.
he doesn't. He's,
Not anymore?
no, he's like 17 and 12.
Oh, okay. So he's about like Carson Beck.
Yeah.
Or Jalen.
It's all right. I'm gonna ride my Derek Carr train until it falls off the tracks.
It was never on the tracks, buddy.
It was on the tracks
Yeah, I
for
was
2
about to-
weeks.
I was about to say it was on the track.
He's not a bad quarterback. Thank you.
You never watched him when he was with the Raiders during those
I'm
early
not a Raiders fan.
in those.
Yeah, why would I watch him?
Why would I watch?
Well, if you ever
had
had
Jameis
if
Winston
you
to watch.
ever had
Look
Amari
at him.
Cooper on your fantasy team in those early years, you would have watched the Raiders and you'd be mightily pissed.
Jameis
because
Winston gives great motivational speeches.
He sure does.
He's really funny.
We tried to get him on the podcast just to,
Yeah, well,
I say tried. We've talked about him on here, but that's
we'll
about
talk
it.
about Big James.
maybe one
Winston.
day. I mean, I feel like he'd come.
Oh, I think
It's a valiant effort.
he's from Alabama. He's got a rep, man. Like
He's from Birmingham.
All we gotta do is
We're gonna have
just
it.
grab legs.
I was gonna say We're gonna have a
Maybe
shrimp.
some shrimp in there,
We're gonna have a
too.
shrimp bowl right here and be
Let's not be too specific.
He'd be in here doing.
eating that W.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm a Jameis fan. The Browns have been terrible, but I'm a Jameis fan. He's their guy going forward. Unfortunately,
He
for
makes
him.
people smile.
look, the Browns have already said they're bringing back the GM, the coach, and Deshaun. Okay, they're just doubling down.
Now there was something else you want to talk about. There's still we've touched on it, but there's still a world the Titans make the playoffs.
There is.
They're gonna have to win out, right?
Oh yeah.
Which I'm talking like
If they,
the same side
as
of the
long
room.
as they beat everybody else in their division and have some help from somebody else,
That'd be great.
beating the Texans, like yes, there is still a
I
world
need some
where the Titans.
underdog team to come and win
That's
the Super Bowl out
The
of nowhere.
Titans are that underdog team this year.
That was a pretty favorable schedule. Like, when do they play the Texans again?
last game of the season.
Last game.
Okay, so they can make a run all the way up until make that game.
Like I said, that
interesting.
last game could be win and get in for both teams.
I think the sports world just needs some type of didn't see this coming situation.
The only reason why I want this to work out for the Titans is so that they can, get a little bit more money to make a better new stadium because those renders that I've seen are just god awful. Like whoever the architect is the worst. In like they just came out of
You
school.
should write a letter.
Well, we've said this the past couple weeks too. It's like
very, very. Yeah.
Titans squander away a few more wins, get out of that top 10 spot because there's
How do you
really
squander away wins? You mean? Are you saying
Last second blunders.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying.
I'm
Like,
saying. Okay. I'm sorry. I
That's
thought
Auburn football.
you were
Right.
saying that they would win, but would squander. But you're saying that they don't win.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. So with us really not knowing who all's coming out in the draft, like it'll be beneficial to them for next year if they screw up and win these next 6 games and get that mid-round pick. Because if they get a top 10 pick, they're gonna screw it up.
That's the hardest argument ever, though. Is like,
Do we
Tank
win?
for
I mean,
pick.
think about it.
Yeah.
You and I and our fandoms are in very similar boats. Honestly, I mean, the record's not.
Well, I
far.
swapped
Do you
teams a
want?
couple years ago.
Well, I know. Well,
Yeah, look, he's one more bad season away
Dude, I'm
from
telling
change. Look, since I've known him, he started out as a dadgum Colts fan,
yep.
Peyton Manning, baby.
and then he went to a Broncos fan,
Peyton Manning.
and
Well,
then
they
he's
brought me
like,
Super
then
Bowls.
he was like, you know what? The Atlanta Falcons are my team, baby.
Julio
Ride or die for the rest of my life.
Dirty birds, man.
And then a couple years ago, he makes an emotional Facebook post saying,
I'm a Julio Jones fan. I
I
don't
am
care about
no
anything
longer
else."
supporting this team. I cannot handle this anymore.
Oh, dude! Imagine a
The
world where the
mental
Saints and the Titans are in the Super Bowl this year. I mean, it could happen.
I mean, as long as the Titans, I don't
It's
care who
possible.
they play.
Is it possible for the Saints still? Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. They're going to win out.
There we go.
I'm delusional.
welcome to the team.
Aren't we all?
Interim head coach, we're good.
Who's your NFL team?
I feel
Money.
safe because
Whoever brings you the money.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't even bet NFL. I'm
I
not
like
a
it.
big, not a big
There you
NFL
go.
guy when it comes to that.
that's tough. You can be the Titans fan with me.
Saints won me some money when Derek Carr was on his stuff.
First 2 weeks of the season.
I mean,
He's not doing bad. He was injured for 3 games, and then we said, let's start Spencer Rattler. Like,
haven't heard about him. Like, yeah.
whose decision? I mean, it wasn't mine, but
so is Ohio State just that good?
I think so.
I mean, because what they did to Indiana was pretty disrespectful.
Well, their defense looked phenomenal. I mean, they had Indiana on their heels for most of the second quarter when Indiana couldn't get it across the 20. They had that bad snap on punt. And I think Ohio State is that good. They were that good to beat Oregon. The quarterback just slid too
One
late.
second.
Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah, I definitely think Ohio State's that good.
That's a tough team for Indiana to run into. I know that everybody was betting against Indiana because before that, Alabama was going. Like, he had all these SEC teams that were in the running, but like, had Alabama and Ole Miss been 3-loss team prior to that, I think the country would have been on Indiana's side.
Yeah.
But that, I just can't. I can't imagine a world where Ohio State isn't just that good after watching that performance. Watching what they did against.
I think this year is going to be the most true test of that 12 team.
So if we had to
I
pick,
agree.
so me and Preston did this last week. We took that bracket and kind of did it ourselves as far as like who wins each matchup. So let's go ahead. We'll start with Ohio State, Arizona State. Ohio State wins that game. Okay.
Definitely.
Tennessee, Georgia.
Georgia.
Rematch. We got
Not
Georgia
in
again.
seeds.
Georgia.
Not an 8 seed, yeah. So we got Georgia moving on. All right, then you got Indiana, Penn State, an 11 at 6 seed.
Indiana's gonna upset them.
Penn State.
You were just high on Indiana earlier.
I am, but like I said, they have to prove it to me.
Yeah.
Like I'd like to see them go in and do that, but Penn
Penn
State's gonna win
State's
that
turning
football
into
game.
Notre Dame.
We got the at Penn State. It's going to
think
be a
so?
whiteout. You're going to hear Mo Bamba for 3 hours. So, and you got SMU, Notre Dame. I got the
Hard
Mustangs.
for SMU.
Rhett Lashley.
If Notre Dame makes it, Notre Dame.
They have
Okay.
looked good.
That defense is legit.
Yeah, unfortunately, they ruined America by beating Navy and Army this year.
Yeah. Can't
Handedly.
stand them. Can't. You know what? That's more reason why they deserve to lose in the playoffs.
All right, so SMU, raise your hands.
Aye.
Okay, Notre Dame. All right, SMU moves on to play Texas. All right, so
It
next
was
round.
decided here tonight.
Next round. So how about this? You have Ohio State playing at number 4 seed Boise State.
Favored by 21
Ohio
and a half.
State, dude.
Ohio State gets the upset.
Okay.
Ashton Genty
was
wins the
saying-
Heisman, but gets bounced in the first round of the playoffs.
If Ashton Genty doesn't win the Heisman, there's going to be a revolution.
It's a crime. He's having better number. He's got,
Travis
I know Travis Hunter's going to win. I really do. I know Travis Hunter's going to win. Phenomenal player, great
which
season.
sucks for Genty
Both
because
sides of the ball. But Travis Genty has played some of the best, ball I've ever seen in my life from a, running back. People want to say, "Oh, well, look at his conference. He hasn't played down by da da da." But you know what? He went to Boise State for a reason because people probably thought he was an equal caliber player to not get higher, recruitments from better schools. Okay, so if you're looking at it from that perspective, that he's the same caliber, he's whooping their tails.
Derrick Henry's the year he won the Heisman. Genty's still got 2 games left. He's got better numbers than Henry did.
Yeah.
But
Already.
Henry wasn't going up against a guy who played every snap on both sides of the ball. I feel like that is going to be the deciding factor for Hunter. Or for the Heisman is Hunter. I'm pulling for Genty.
I am
honestly.
too. But again, I'm pulling for Genty. I think Travis Hunter's a great player. In defense of Hunter, I believe he is still a top 10 in the wide receiver category on a lot of
He's
stats.
top 10. He's top 10 on both.
He
He just got passed up for the Jim Thorpe Award.
I saw that.
And Dion is not happy.
Said I'm gonna give him mine.
Yeah.
But I don't
They
think
pissed away a win
I
this
don't
weekend.
think that
I don't know
he's
about
top
that.
10 defensively in some categories. But I know he is in quite a few categories receiving, like yardage,
Oh.
receptions, not touchdowns, but in like yardage and receptions.
Colorado Chance had a chance to take that 12th spot this weekend.
Blew
They
it.
lost to Kansas.
Y'all say blew it. Kansas.
Oh, they beat them by double
Actually,
digits.
yeah.
Kansas has looked fantastic.
They beat BYU the
Thank
week
you,
before,
Yeah.
too. then.
Cash.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They there's one other team they beat a few weeks back as well. Not BYU, and obviously,
Iowa
there's
State.
Yeah, that was another big win. So yeah, they've gotten the ball rolling here.
They
lately.
went back
Who
to
did they
back
play this
to
weekend?
back, beat ranked teams. Who? Kansas?
Yeah, I wish they
Baylor.
I wish they were playing Ohio State or someone like
They got
that.
Baylor. They started out as +2, and last I checked it, I think they were sitting at like -1.5.
Yeah,
All right, so Ohio State over Boise State?
Yeah.
Okay. See you, Boise. All right, next round, we got Georgia,
That's
Oregon.
a game, brother.
Oregon.
I'm
That's
just gonna say Oregon just out of my
That's a game.
pure hatred and
It would be at Oregon, too.
from
Georgia's got to travel all the way across country to play that game. In Eugene.
I need Georgia fans to be knocked down
Yeah,
significantly.
So here's another thing. So I know it's a home field advantage. Do they treat that as true home field? Like the visiting team only gets a certain percentage of tickets?
I would imagine so.
I don't know if it's the same scale on that sense.
It's like a neutral site game, or would it be strictly, 90% Oregon and 10% Georgia?
So when do they go to the neutral site game?
This round.
Semifinals.
Yeah, this round.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
That's yeah. This would be this. Oh no,
We're in the
yeah,
second
so
round.
Yeah. Okay, so the court.
okay.
Yeah, so yeah, they.
So these are still home games.
Home games,
yeah,
yeah.
because we looked it up last week.
So in favor of Georgia?
I don't.
I mean, I am. I'm gonna
I
do
feel
it.
like Oregon's got something to prove.
I think Oregon's the real deal this year. I just don't know if they're built for the moment yet.
You don't know
It would
if
help
Oregon
them-
is. I know Georgia isn't this year.
It would help. It's huge
I know
home field.
Georgia
Georgia
showed
isn't
up
this
against
year.
Texas.
They got Sid the Sloth as quarterback. Okay,
They might, but as long as he throws 3 interceptions,
He's got-
he ain't gonna get beat.
Yeah.
and which he's done a lot this
That's what,
season.
that's what I'm saying. As long as he throws his 3 interceptions,
They're getting beat.
no, Georgia hadn't lost when he throws 3 interceptions.
The Bama
outside
game.
of the Bama game.
There was one other game he did.
He went back to back to back
Multiple pick games.
I know.
interception games.
But no, there was one other additional game where he threw 3 interceptions and lost. The other loss they had.
Ole Miss,
Yeah.
he had a pretty good game against Ole Miss.
They lost.
Yeah, they lost.
Yeah.
Go
Well,
Ducks. That's all I got.
I got Georgia. I can't.
I got Georgia too.
Just got to use one of their fantastic uniform combinations.
That's what I would like to see them go all the way there
Yeah.
just for that.
All right,
I
so
love
who
the
do
speckled paint ones.
who did we
Yeah.
decide on Indiana Penn State?
We said Penn State.
I said Indiana.
Yeah.
I did too. All right,
So them versus Miami. Man, that's going to be.
Penn State, Miami.
Penn State or Indiana?
So we said as collectively, I know you said Indiana,
We'd
but
go
yeah,
Penn State.
yeah, Penn State.
Penn State's going to beat the
All right, so Penn
You think
State
it-
at Miami.
Probably.
Penn State probably wins.
I
That.
got the over.
I got money.
I don't even know who I'd pick in that game, but I got the over. Maybe
And
Miami
then-
just because Drew Allard has a cap. Like
Yeah.
he's got a ceiling,
Yeah.
but I mean their run game and like their offense as atrocious this year. Maybe, but
So I don't know how many Miami games you've watched this year. Like I've actually watched quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they only have the one loss, but they should at least have one, if not two more.
Virginia Tech.
the Virginia Tech,
Cal.
and Louisville. There's 3. Yeah, even Cal.
dude,
Sure.
the Cows. It's
So I mean,
unbelievable.
so
how
I mean,
they
there
won
was
that game.
Yeah.
countless games out this year that literally came down to the final minutes.
But
or
I wish
seconds.
Bama would be in the situation that Miami is.
Yeah, just one. Yeah, I agree.
They might be after Saturday.
So then, lastly, well, we said SMU. Or did we say Notre Dame?
I'm taking Texas.
No, but which team did we say?
SMU.
We said SMU.
We said
SMU, yeah.
Texas for sure.
Texas,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
If it's Notre Dame, who you taking?
Texas.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers hurt? Or he's having like a
Yeah.
X-ray or MRI
Yeah, because
or-
I
That's fine. Let
believe
him
they
be.
are.
We need Arch.
I believe they are because I believe he is because someone, a lot of people make the comment what you pointed out earlier about a different team, but about if the quarterback's hurt, then they don't deserve to be in. With the Florida State
Oh, yeah.
situation.
I mean, let's be real. We got Arch behind. He got pulled during the Georgia game, or put in during the Georgia game.
Yeah,
I don't think that's going to be a game changer.
yeah.
All right, semifinals: Ohio State, Georgia.
Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Ohio
I don't.
I do
That's
too.
it.
Ohio State, their defense is solid. Preston,
Oregon
that's
because Oregon's going to win. No, Ohio State. Yeah, I would
so
say
clean sweep. Georgia, Ohio State. Who we have next? Miami and Texas in the semifinals.
I'm still taking
Texas.
Texas.
Texas for sure. I don't trust Miami at all.
Yeah. So that would leave us with Texas and Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Really?
I mean,
I ain't watching it.
They
for
paid.
that, so.
They paid $20 million for that roster for a reason, and they're good.
Caleb Downs had a punt return touchdown this
Yeah,
past
he did.
weekend. Good for him, Trader. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. We want to thank.
I've got
again-
one last thing. No, I'm just kidding.
Another monologue?
We want to thank KJ for coming on. We want to thank AJ for coming on. Hopefully, we can make this a regular thing. If not, they're fired.
Didn't know we were employed.
Have a great Thanksgiving weekend. Safe travels for those who are traveling. We will see everybody again next Monday to react to the Iron Bowl and everything else that happened this past weekend.
Who do y'all have winning this weekend, Iron Bowl? What do you talk about?
Bama.
Bama.
Bama by
I got
60.
Bama to win, Auburn to cover.
Here we go.
There we go.
But that's going to wrap it up. We thank you guys for watching. As always, Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Thank
Thanks
y'all
for
again.
having us.
Have a great Thanksgiving.